Is Rudy Giuliani back at the same time in a different place, but with a lot more places covering us, right? So this is the Rudy Giuliani show, and it's live. We don't do, too many of those warmed over spit. Uh, I always found the taped things, like you do it 4 hours before. I mean, I won't mention the stations, but we've been on stations when riots are going on and they're playing stuff from 4 hours ago. That is not considered journalism. That's considered, I don't know. But in any event, I'll tell you what else is not considered journalism: ordering people not to cover relevant news. Now, I'm going to make some things very, very clear because the lying about me is egregious. And these are people that I didn't think would, well, let me amend that. Maybe best to be said this way. I'm very disappointed that they're lying so much. And I think I can actually demonstrate this to you beyond any doubt. The letter which began all this wasn't in existence a week ago. A week ago today or yesterday, John Catsimatidis was going to invite people and wanted to pay for some of my birthday party. I didn't know that actually. But it had to mean he was pretty happy with me. His name is even on a couple of what would you call them, mock-up invitations. When I heard that, I said I didn't think that was right, and I asked that a call be made to him or his assistant and said it's not necessary to do that for a lot of reasons that we can get into at some point that really are not relevant to what happened here. Well, in any event, something changed in that period of time. And by Thursday, I believe it was, Ted, now you got to correct me on this here, just in case. On Thursday, out of the clear blue sky, and I swear to you that it was the clear blue sky, I got a letter saying something that I, in my wildest imagination, didn't think was a policy of WABC. And the letter says, and let's get exactly the words because the people speaking on behalf of ABC very disappointingly lie about this. So let's see if we can agree on what the letter says and what the so-called policy is. We're not going to agree on whether I knew about the policy or not. I say I didn't. They'd like to say I did. I think I can prove I didn't. But in any event, let's at least agree on what the policy is. And when you see how broad it is, you will see that this policy eviscerates any claim that this station has a regard for the First Amendment. And we'll get into that for a minute. First Amendment values, the value of free speech. Now, here's the language. Do we have it, Ted?
Yeah, I'm bringing it up right now.
Okay, if we could.
So
I just don't want to misstate it.
that's right. So we're gonna bring up for the whole, this is the first paragraph. I'll bring it up to them.
That's all I need is the first. So this is a letter, as you can see, from Red Apple Media. That's John Catsimatidis' overall company that owns WABC because it's originally a grocery store company, I guess, but it's called Red Apple Media. And this is a letter to me. You see the date is May 9, 2024. Now, I got it through whatever happenstance there is, approximately 1:45 with my show getting ready for 3, like I'm doing right now. And here's the first, really the key operative part of the letter. This letter, now it's too small to read. Would you like to read it, Ted? Since it's in front.
I'm bringing it up
All right.
bigger. So
This letter serves to remind you that you are prohibited from engaging in what does that say? Conversations relating to the 2020 presidential election. Okay, so let's see right now. They've been saying things like, it just means he can't say stolen election. It just means he can't talk about Georgia. It just means that he can't say that Trump actually won. Now, I've been never told any of those things either, but that isn't what this says. That's what their imagination said. That's what they're saying as people who are dissembling, who are scrambling because what they did is so outrageous. Not necessarily a violation of the law, but a violation of any pretense of being a radio station that operates under the principles of, American journalism, which is that we don't censor major areas of news. This censors a major area of news. It would prevent, for example, something I'm going to cover today about Georgia and about new revelations in Georgia about election fraud. This letter serves to remind you that you are prohibited from engaging in conversations relating to the 2020 presidential election. So I would be on WABC. Here's where it gets worse. And otherwise, in your capacity as an agent of WABC. So today, I want to cover a story that has been going on for quite some time and about which there are building facts every day. New facts build up, and different people have opinions. But very, very dramatically and not unexpectedly for me, a case in Georgia resulted in an admission, in a clear admission that 3,000 or 3,500, I'll get you the right, ballots in the 2020 election were double counted or more. Now, up until now, they've denied that there were any that were double counted or more, and I was castigated for this, and it became a big part of my bar association frame up. Judge acting like, it's insane that I would think so, even though I have videos to show it. But videos that have been doctored not to show all of them and presented to me deceptively so I wouldn't know they were doctored. Now, you see what I just said to you? If I were on ABC right now, a week ago, I would have thought I could say that and would have and did things like that. But as of that date, when they sent me that, I would not be able to tell you any of that. I wouldn't be able to say, for example, new information of fraud has emerged in Pennsylvania. It hasn't. It has, but not right in the last couple of days. Let's be specific. New information of fraud has emerged in Georgia. I can't say that to you, even though it did. Even though other newspapers have covered it, not any of the crooked newspapers. And WABC elects to join the crooked newspapers in not covering it. Under what possible theory are there news people prohibited from presenting news that emerges about the 2020 election? Like 300,000 ballots missing now. Or was it 375, Ted? I don't remember. You don't think that's important? Of course, the defense, the crooks in Georgia, which includes the Republicans, all say, "Oh, but that was just one of the recounts. They were there in the other recounts." Well, if they were, how do they go missing? And number two, why wouldn't you never let any Trump independent Republican view any of the paper ballots? You even put on like a hissy fit when we had the guy ready to look at the ballot. You protected these paper ballots like they were money under the table that crooked politicians get. I mean, all we really needed to see were all of the paper ballots and review them, and you could have satisfied us. They were all ballots that were legitimately cast in the election. Or we would have found out that 30,000, 40,000, 50, 60, 70, upwards of maybe 100,000 ballots were printed on new paper, different than the paper that was the station area that was used for the election. And in some cases, any number of suspiciously repetitious Biden-only ballots, no down ticket, and some done by machine rather than by a pen or pencil. Though that's all the evidence that we had. And that evidence could have been confirmed by an analysis of the paper, or it could have been trashed. The fact that they refused to show us a single piece of paper tells me that what my witnesses were telling me about all the cheating they were doing was true. Are there great discrepancies at times between the numbers, like 65,000 young people that may turn out to be 5,000 or 6,000? Yes, because this is done by extrapolation, because you don't have, nor did they make available the people that voted. So you have to call, set up kind of a poll, have experts who do this. These are experts who testify in all elections, except all of Trump's experts are crooks, even people who have served honorably in the military, or they're extremely dishonest lawyers like me, who's probably put more significant criminals in jail than they ever dreamed of. But in any event, whether any of that is true or false, it's relevant. And it goes deeper than that. If they can shut us up on the 2020 election, read again what John Catsimatidis is trying to do. He's trying to shut us up on the 2020 election. The letter serves to remind you that you are prohibited from engaging in conversations relating to the 2020 presidential elections. If we are submitted to the dictate of John Catsimatidis, doesn't it become more likely they cheat in 2024? Doesn't it tell them, oh, gee, we'll work something like out for 2024 also? Isn't it much more likely they won't cheat if their prior cheating is laid out and they end this protection they're getting for what they did in 2020, which nobody else would get other than crooked Biden Democrats? So now, is Catsimatidis doing this because he made some kind of deal with the devil, Dominion? And his fellow Greek, Paulos, through a Greek priest, as is alleged in Daily Beast, in the litigation with Newsmax. He doesn't want to testify, doesn't want to turn over documents, doesn't want to turn over records, because he doesn't want to explain exactly what kind of deal he made with the head of Newsmax. He did make a deal with the head of Newsmax. That's no question about that. Or is this going further, and did, either with his knowledge or unbeknownst to him, did some of the Biden lawyers get into this? And is this being used as part of their, what is now overall campaign to shut up Trump lawyers? They got all the lawyers at trial shut up with gag orders. They seem like little sheep who have gone to the slaughter pretty easily. But okay, we're all different. I'm not a little sheep that goes to the slaughter at all. Not for you, not for anybody else, and not for any amount of money you got, because you throw it around like crazy, but it doesn't mean a damn thing to me. Ain't no way I'm subscribing to that. There is no way I ever did. And if you say that I knew about that, you're a damn liar. And now try to explain, if I knew about it, why did I talk about that election for 4 straight years on your station? As of last week, I talked about it. Was I just the exception? I mean, and then if I was, why doesn't it continue? Let's make it clear. That's the lawyer's argument. The truth is, I never heard of that exception, that prohibition. I would never in a million years work for a journalistic enterprise or station who had a policy like that. Some people, in their spurious defense, because John's got a lot of money to throw around, and these people would like to get some of it, I imagine, or are afraid for their jobs, which I understand, are saying, well, this isn't a violation of the First Amendment because the government didn't do it. Hey, I know that better than you do, jackass. The reality is the government didn't do it. We're pretty sure. I'll give you a theory under which maybe the government did. I'm sure not abandoning that as I get to the bottom of this. But the reality is that First Amendment is not just a right, it's a value, it's a principle. It's something that we treasure. It's something that way back in Greek philosophy we began treasuring. with a theory, I guess, best expressed by Oliver Wendell Holmes, but originally by Plato, which is that the truth emerges in the marketplace of ideas, that we don't ban outrageous statements, we don't ban stupid statements, we don't ban crazy statements. We subject them to the marketplace of ideas. And certainly there's a big marketplace for these ideas. There are plenty of talk shows. There are plenty of talk shows right and left, very few in the middle, that if I make a mistake, are more than happy to rip me apart. Or if there is another opinion that can be offered contrary to mine, will be offered. Problem is, when you say that, my opinion and my side of it is cut out completely. So the only thing that you hear is complete repetition that the 2020 election was perfect. It was not. What Castamatidis and his crew there are doing is maintaining one of the worst lies in American history. And what he's taking out is one of the 4 or 5 main issues in this campaign, and maybe one of the 1 or 2 most important things to our democracy. Doesn't matter if it's a government or not, it doesn't. Doesn't matter whether it's a crime or not. It's a violation of what it means to be an American to do it. Americans don't shut down speech for one side and claim to be heroes of the First Amendment. There's a reason he's doing that, and it's not a good one. And there aren't too many good reasons to shut down an entire station from talking about one of the most important things that relates to this election. Many people have said to me, "Oh, Rudy, just go along with it." One person even said, who works for WABC and purports to be a friend of mine, everybody has bosses. Yeah, like the Nazi prison guards had bosses. I don't have a boss where it comes to the United States Constitution and the values in the United States Constitution. I don't have a boss that can tell me to shut up about something of tremendous relevance to the future of free speech in my country. If they and to the future of free and fair elections, if there is any evidence of fooling around with that election, if there's any evidence of fooling around with that election, anybody who suppresses it, I believe, is acting in a way that is extremely detrimental to our democracy. And anybody just subscribing to that broad prohibition, I don't know, my friends. How do you know what's going to come up about the 2020 election? There's already a plethora of information that is different than what existed then. There's a report by Senator Ligon of Georgia that Georgia was fixed. There's a report on Wisconsin. There's a report on Pennsylvania. There are a series of reports on Arizona. People, yes, are being tried to be put in jail, like Christina Bobb, but she'll tell you it was fixed in Arizona. But she wouldn't be allowed to say that on. The president says it. But you can't support him with facts when they come out. That statement isn't so one-sided. It reeks of how the hell did that happen without the Biden people being involved? When we get to the second part of the letter, which I'm not going to do right now, I would say it raises a very, very significant suspicion, particularly with regard to their interpretation of the stipulation in the case in which I was held liable for $145 million, which I am also now prohibited from talking about. That language and that interpretation peculiarly comes from people who just oddly sued me again today. And those are the Biden lawyers who are representing those 2 women from a multi-million-dollar law firm, Kelly Dry, probably $400,000 or $500,000 worth of legal fees by now, not paid for by these women, definitely paid for by Democratic Party people who want to kill Trump and Trump's people. And the guy handling the case was a former partner of none other than Hunter Biden. And my boss at WABC wants me to keep my mouth shut about that, which will help Joe Biden destroy me and hurt Donald Trump tremendously. Now, do I look like a fool? There may be people there that have to live. I mean, first of all, there should be a banner that says, if you want information about the 2020 election, do not listen to ABC, because no one on ABC is allowed to talk about it. Then the question should be, is there anything else? Because if you can say that, I don't know what else you can cut out. And then the question should be, why? Well, I mean, the best and most generous possibility is to save John money from being sued by Dominion for things that happened before. The worst is that the Biden people have a hand in this, which the second part of the letter suggests. Now, if the Biden people have a hand in it, all these people that are saying it's not, technically the First Amendment, or I'm saying it's First Amendment values, they're dead wrong, because then you're doing it with consultation with the government. And we just had a Supreme Court decision that decided that one. We're going to have a lot more. And now we have a violation of civil rights, which can only be done by the government. And then you become responsible for the violation of civil rights as a private person when you operate in conjunction with the government. So if you want to hear information about the 2020 election, do not listen to WABC. If you want to hear everything presented to you without fear or favor, I'm not afraid of anybody. I'm too old. This is being done on the eve of my birthday. It's being done while I'm bankrupt. It's being done at a time in which they were absolutely certain that, like the others who will, roll over and go to John's money, ain't going to do it. Ain't going to do it. And pretty damn disgusting that you're doing it. And it really is disgusting you're lying about it. You know damn well I didn't know about this policy. And the facts prove it. You know how many times I talked about the 2020 election on your radio station right up until a day or two before you wrote that letter? Just about every day for 4.5 years. And how often did I talk about my judgment in Georgia? Almost every day since then. And my good friends, and I will not single them out, but people who work for you have specifically questioned me about that. Even though you claim this prohibition exists. Are you doing anything about that? Or is it just Trump's guy Giuliani you're going to fire? Well, fire, or I guess I get my job back if I'm willing to agree to the censorship. Got the wrong guy. And you got the wrong guy to lie about, because I'm not going to let people forget that you're a liar. I do not like liars, which is another reason that I was significantly uncomfortable at that radio station. Oh, mostly very good people. Honestly, I'm not saying that sarcastically at all. Feel very bad that I'm not working with them any longer. But in a very significant position, you got a guy that's working on, pathological style lying that has created, among other things, the departure of a fairly large number of staff, and particularly balanced on the female side. But those are for other days and other things to be pursued by other people. We're interested right now in making sure that all the information gets out about the 2024 election so that they don't get to do what they did last time. One of the best ways to get them to do what they did last time is to shut people up on 2020, which is what WABC has joined the conspiracy to do. Shame on them. So now let's talk about the news. The trial today has big liar Cohen up, one of the biggest liars in America. I do not understand how he's allowed to testify when the Southern District of New York branded him persona non grata. A thing that happens with prosecutors. He lied so much to them after he cooperated that they refused to allow him to testify. He had to do his full time in jail. They also did that with Lev Parnas, the guy who offered any number of lies against me. And that doesn't happen a lot. In other words, they weighed his credibility and determined that he is just a pathological, like Joe Biden, right? Who would believe Joe Biden? No one. No one would believe him because you never know when he's telling the truth. Same thing with Michael Cohen. We're going to take a short break. And when we get back, we're going to show you as dramatically as I think we possibly can why these decisions are made about not using him. And why, among other reasons, this case was turned down 4 times until Biden and Soros twisted Bragg's arm, who turned it down originally, to prosecute it. We'll be back in about 2 minutes.
We're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50% and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
Delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. Heroes who risked their lives to keep our communities and our country safe. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. Captain Sachs sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training, killing him and 5 other service members. He's remembered by loved ones as courageous, brilliant, and devoted to his career, family, and friends. John is survived by his wife, Amber, who gave birth to their second daughter 3 months after his death. Tunnel to Towers paid the mortgage on the family home for Amber and their 2 daughters. The foundation has helped over 1,000 military and first responder families navigate the worst of times by removing the burden of a mortgage payment. Our nation's heroes and their families need your help now more than ever. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org. T2T.org. Please donate now. Well, welcome back to the Rudy Giuliani Show, which you usually hear on radio. You still can listen to it. But if you want to watch it, you can also do that on, let's go, Ted, X.
On X, YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, QUX, Twitch.
And also on...
Today, we are on Real
America Live, and you get it through the Bannon War Room on Rumble and Getter, I believe. So we got a lot of places to get us. We're going to have more within the next week or two. We have a number of offers. They all have to, kind of be looked at, not just from the point of view of monetary or whatever, but also from the point of view of, some are a little bit conflicting. So, meaning stations. that are conflicting with each other. But in any event, I'm glad that we're going to still continue to have a voice, which it was their desire. I mean, it's a little bit too much of a conspiracy or a coincidence that when Joe Biden first entered this race for president, the first thing he did is send a letter to the networks to try to get me off. Because remember, number one, I'm the first person that raised criminality about Joe Biden and proved it with witnesses and a document showing a direct money laundering transaction where Joe got money while he was vice president. And then, of course, I'm the one who I had to remind the New York Post that wrote a terribly biased piece on it. Well, they all do. I mean, the object here is to run down anybody near Trump, despite the fact that they always talk about how they had the hard drive. They had the hard drive. They had the hard drive. You know how often they attribute it to me? One or two times near the bottom. Wouldn't have had any hard drive if it wasn't for me. Nobody would have had it if it wasn't for me and my lawyer, Bob Costello. You wouldn't have had any information about Joe Biden being a crook either if it wasn't for me. Because I brought it out. Other people had sniffed at it. Other people were working on it. Nobody else brought it out. People actually refused to bring it out. And people specifically were afraid to bring out the hard drive. So when you want to know why the Bidens are so much after me, probably the most of anyone other than obviously the president, that's the reason. I'm the reason for their problems, not even Donald Trump. President Trump didn't know about this. I got it for him in my capacity as his defense lawyer. And then, of course, with the hard drive, we got double-crossed by Barr and Wray, who hid the hard drive during the impeachment proceeding. Never explained by anyone. And then hid it after Biden lied about my being a Russian pawn and the president working for the Russians, when in fact the hard drive proved that what he was saying was absolutely true, and eventually validated 16 months later, although the FBI determined it wasn't Russian disinformation 8 months before Biden lied about it. This is what you got to face. And this is very similar to the kind of lying that John Catsimatidis is doing now in saying that I knew about this policy. Hard to explain how I talked about the 2020 election. I don't know. If I say 100 times, I'm probably short. 200 times on his station with his people. I didn't know it, monitoring me. I mean, I guess we have a CIA at, but in any event, it's nice to be free, isn't it? That's what we got to fight for, to be free. So in the Cohen trial, I was going to show you his clip. It could take us a bit to get to it. So let's talk about the rally for a minute. Saw the president yesterday, and I told him that I thought the rally was huge. And he smiled. He hasn't used huge in a long time. I hope. I mean, his staff will get really angry if I've encouraged him to do it again. I doubt it. But in any event, it was huge. And it's hard to really, it is really weird. When he does that thing about, would you turn around and show him the crowd? What the hell? Why don't they do that? Is it irrelevant to this election? Who has the enthusiasm? Unless the American people are considered to be a bunch of fools who get hoodwinked. Well, particularly if they come from middle America, I guess, huh? It is pretty significant that on a Saturday afternoon or going into the evening, I don't think anybody really disputes that 300,000 is pretty much the number there. 100,000, I'm sorry. I thought one of the best points he made is, they're talking about, these poor people that are coming over. We should bring more of them over. Biden wants to bring them in from Palestine. And when you say they're criminals, you're just being a xenophobe. Crime is down 68% in Venezuela. Would you like to explain that? Similarly, in other countries where we don't get a chance to measure insane asylums, but Castro sure did a good job of emptying his out during Marielito. And when you look at the whack jobs running around, I don't know. Aren't too many brain surgeons coming over. And a lot of crime committed by them, including a lot of sex crime. So I don't see how you're being anything but looking at it in the light most necessary to defend the people, which is to assume the worst. You can't go around with never land stories that these are all, wonderful people all seeking asylum. In fact, the number turns out to be 5% or less that are telling the truth. So you've got that. You've got the fact there's a completely open border. There's no vetting. And the crooked Colombian, Mexican cartels are letting them in. You got to figure this is a disproportionate number of criminals that Biden is just having them come in. Another reason you can see there are a disproportionate number of criminals, the amount of fentanyl deaths has skyrocketed. Now, why the Democrats defend it and protect it, I don't know. I mean, according to Abbott, Abbott's a racist, according to Adams, who was off to see the Pope. I hope he confessed that one. And while he was off there, New York had a massive crime wave, particularly against young people. Not that it would have mattered, because I don't think he really knows what the hell he's doing. Crime has gone down in most respects, but it's still up since he was mayor. And in some respects, it's way up. And then there's no sense of safety in the city, because he tries to get people to convince that crime is their imagination, not reality. And the day he does it, somebody gets thrown on a subway track. So I don't know how people are going to end up feeling safe as a result of that. Trump hit on crime quite a bit. He kept the speech quite substantive. Once again, the rally participants, all 100,000 plus, one of the long version of the snake story. If any of these people ever going to say we like the short version of the snake story? I actually, it's a little ridiculous, because I've heard it less times than I've talked about the 2020 election on WABC, in violation of their policy to not talk about the 2020 election, which I didn't know was a policy. But I've heard it a lot, and I always enjoy it, and he always tells it a little differently. And it always makes its point. But I think it's really insulting to snakes to compare them to the top level of the Democrat Party. I really do. Are snakes traitors to their country? Like, give up air bases 400 miles from China because they got a lot of money from China? I don't know. I guess snakes don't deal in money. I mean, here's a little picture of it. If you want to think he's exaggerating, my God. On the beach. Ed, can you show him this, or should I show him this?
Yeah,
or
hold that up.
Can they see it?
Oh, wow. I'll see if I can, is that Wildwood?
Yes, it is.
Let me,
No, it's the shores of the Volga River.
let me, see if we can find that online, and
Which I
wow.
think it's in Russia and not Ukraine, right?
So we can bring that up here. We're working on these Cohen clips. But we might have to tune in tonight.
Oh, it's the largest rally of 24. They did say that. And they did point out that it's larger than Biden rally. It doesn't have rallies. How can you have a rally if 4 people show up? And when he goes on a beach, nobody even knows who he is. Look at the difference between what happens when Trump goes on the beach and when Joe goes on the beach, which is so huge rally, as I said, in a very, very blue state. He did tease everyone by bringing Doug Burgum with him, right?
Right.
The governor of North Dakota, and said some things about him. I've forgotten exactly the words, but it was almost words like, I mean, Ted said, he could be talking about the cabinet too, but he sure as heck is trying to, I don't know that Doug Burgum's going to get picked or not, but he sure as heck is throwing that out there. They call that a trial balloon.
Yeah.
You throw out these names, and unfortunately for the poor person, that will bring forward anybody that wants to try to bury them with garbage or I guess truthful stuff. Usually it's garbage when these little scum do it through anonymous sources, or nowadays crooked reporters write stories with no sources. So I don't know. I mean, Doug Burgum, I'd have to look at him more carefully. I certainly don't in any way just say, "Oh boy, that's crazy." He's a very good governor. He made a good account of himself at the debates as a very intelligent, mature guy. Obviously questions about foreign policy. Does he have the foreign policy experience? A lot of other questions. You have to get to know him. But is he a legit candidate, governor of a major state and great record? Yeah, sure, absolutely. Or might it be Lawrence Taylor, who used to always vote Democrat, and since he met Trump, he's never done anything but vote Republican? I'm glad to hear that because I want Lawrence Taylor on my side. I remember when he used to hit people. I used to go to Giant Stadium, then occasionally I get to stand on the field. One time I was standing on the field and I retreated. I was starting to feel it myself. Bam, smash. I mean, I'm not even sure about Lawrence. I'm talking about some 180-pound cornerback hit somebody. It's like getting hit with a sack of bricks. I mean, I understand the health problems with football. I'm not unsympathetic to it. I just love the game, and I do think to do it away with it now would just further feminize America. And I don't mean feminize in the right way. I mean feminize in the way of no masculine values, where men are the enemy. Because that's what we're trying to do. We're making a country into a country of sissies. Boy Scouts are now going to be the what? The no pronoun Scouts? What are they going to become? The Scouts?
Scouting America.
Scouting America. Oh, they're going to go scouting around America. That's good. They all hate America. Why would they want to scout America, all the woke people? But what about the girl? Will there be a Girl Scout? Is there a Girl Scout?
That's a good question.
What do I have to do? Buy woke cookies now? I will not buy cookies from Scouting of America. I'm sorry. I'm not going to buy cookies from people who let biological males go into female bathrooms. For them, I really would like to buy a term of imprisonment. That wonderful actor, Steve Buscemi, former New York City firefighter, was attacked. He was attacked in Brooklyn.
I saw that.
This is bad when this happens. But Adams couldn't do much about it because he was in Rome or Miami or somewhere in between, or at the late night supper club wearing his $5,000 suit. I wonder how he affords that.
Hello?
Then a guy in a wheelchair, jumped out of a wheelchair and stabbed a woman across the chest.
Wow.
Are you kidding me? But before the show is out, so much time we have here, see if you can find that, okay, Ted? Let's see if we can find that one, because the guy who did it, I'm trying to read this correct. Shocking. This is from the Post. Always like to make sure I'm not plagiarizing here. From Larry Salona, as usual, very, very, very prolific crime reporter, by the way. Kevin Sheehan and Isabel Keene. Shocking video captures the moment a serial offender pulls out a massive knife and stabs a passing tourist near Times Square. In an unprovoked attack. It shows the man using a walker to exit Port Gourmet Deli at West 43rd Street and 8th Avenue. The attacker is seen wearing a yellow sweatshirt under a dark jacket and an orange hat, leaving a store and sitting outside on his walker. Two women walk toward him when he suddenly jumps up from his seat and reveals a very large knife. Video shows the attacker shuffling forward and stabbing one of the women across the chest. This is Cyril Destin, who's been arrested 14 times in the past 20 years. Criminal mischief, trespass. And since 2019, the time of the Cuomo revolution, so people can get released faster and commit more crimes in general, supported by de Blasio and unable to be affected by our mayor, who I guess is back from Rome now. He's had 4 arrests since 2019. So, I mean, he's obviously taken advantage of this thing. And it doesn't look like he gets interrupted too much from his career of slashing, because he lives in a homeless shelter too. So there you go. Let homelessness get out of control. You're going to have unsanitary conditions, and you're going to have a lot of crime. Make New York a sanctuary, uber sanctuary city. It wasn't even a sanctuary city. It was bigger and better than others. You're going to have massive crime. Has Adams apologized for doing that yet? I mean, he's not going to get help from anybody because he caused his own problem. I mean, this is the kind of crime that's going on while he goes off to Rome. And I mean, he vacations like Biden, which maybe is a real indication that he's not necessary.
Is he bad?
I don't know if he's bad. What would it matter?
The mayor got, oh gosh.
Madman in Harlem. That's now let's talk about Atlanta for a moment, okay? Because this is the thing that you're not going to get on. Well, you're not only won't you get it on WABC. The tragedy of that is they then join in with CNBC, MSNBC, ABC, FYZ, and all the legacy media in not covering. And tell me this story isn't relevant. Last Tuesday, Fulton, the SEB, which is the state agency to investigate elections, the state election board, I believe, ruled 2-1 that Fulton County, which is the place where I'm indicted, Trump is indicted, and they want to put us away for the rest of our lives, presided over by Fannie the Hoe. The SEC, which I tell you all the time, is one of the most crooked places in America, along with my own city. The SEB ruled 2-1 Tuesday that Fulton County must have an independent election monitor to oversee its election. In other words, they're not to be trusted to handle an election because of what they did in 2020. But what they did in 2020 was pronounced to be almost a perfect election by the Republican powers that be, and to such an extent they never let us review the paperwork. And if you say anything else about it, you're committing a crime. That's the crime I'm accused of, is arguing that this election here in Atlanta was fixed. That's a crime. I was his lawyer. Oh, I'm sorry. He's not allowed to have a lawyer. That's his crime too. Sounds like every day in every way, just like we got proven to be telling the truth about Russian collusion, and they were proven to be traitorous liars. Just like we turned out to be true about the hard drive, that it wasn't Russian disinformation, and they turned out to be horrible liars. It's the same horrible liars here that say it wasn't fixed, and the same people that told the truth that tell you it was. But the ones telling you the truth that say it was are not allowed to speak. You think there's anything fair about that? And do you think I should agree? I mean, you're right. You tell me, should I agree on the theory that everybody has a boss, so that I can perpetrate, of course, this is not the Nazis. It's not that, but of course, that was the defense of the Nazi prison guards. Everybody has a boss. Oh, but make it, if the boss tells you to steal money for him every week and put it in a little thing, do you do that? Because you're afraid you're not going to have a job? I don't know. I mean, if you're starving enough, maybe. But it would seem to me a person who wants to be a news person has people trust them. I mean, again, ABC should announce before every show, we're going to cover the news, except we're not going to tell you anything about any new or emerging information concerning the 2020 elections in Georgia. For that, go to Rudy Giuliani. He'll be on X. They should just give out all my. He'll be on X and other places. I thought they liked me there. I really did. I really had a very warm relationship with all of those people, including with John's family, who I have nothing but the utmost respect for. I just am appalled at the way in which he's now lying and dissembling. I was not told about that policy, and it's absurd to say I was. If you go back and review the last 5 years of continuous violation of it, if I knew about it. And if that's the case, then he didn't really give a damn about the policy until something happened a couple of days ago. I have told you a few theories of what happened, but there may be more. And damn it, if it involves in any way collusion with the Biden lawyers. And the second part of the letter, and I stayed away from the second part of the letter because I don't want to give anything away. Ted, take it down, take it down. The second part of the letter theory is I can't talk about, and this has nothing to do with, who or what may be involved in this, that I can't talk about my $135 million judgment because I conceded liability in a stipulation at trial. Well, a stipulation at trial is for the purposes of trial. It's not for talking outside of trial. It doesn't preclude you from continuing to dispute it. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to appeal. And by the way, it's none of their concern. That's the concern of the judge. So now they're doubling up on me. So I get fired for it, and now I just got sued by the Biden paid for Biden partner lawyer who is charging millions in legal fees to these poor, so-called poor women who recovered $135 million. I got sued by them again, right on the heels of Biden doing this. If you can't see that it's being done to break me, and if John can't see that he's playing a material role in it so that he can protect himself from dominion, that's one thing for sure. But who knows what else? Maybe, I don't know what else because he won't turn over the documents to Newsmax. So 3,000 ballots were scanned twice during the 2020 presidential election, where they assured the public that ballots were not scanned any more than one time. And of equal significance, 345,000 ballots are missing. Missing. I told you about the evidence of the ballots that were burned that the FBI wouldn't cover, and the U.S. attorney in Atlanta told our people he was told by Barr not to follow up on. Well, this may or may not explain that. 375 missing. That's not a news story. It's not a news story if you cover up for Biden and you live in a dictatorship. It is a news story if you live in a democracy. And this is the reason I will not submit. Ted, you got something?
That's right, Mayor. We've got some callers.
I know I didn't leave enough time because I wasn't sure people were ready to call yet.
Oh, yeah. We've got people on the line.
What's the phone number so they know it for tomorrow also?
So for tomorrow, be sure to call this number, 646-573-5177. We have the number on the screen. That's
676.
646.
Terrible. 646. Yep.
573.
All right.
5177. And when you're ready, we got our first caller.
Well, I am going to do my my thought of the day, sponsored by Tunnel to Towers, because that was I was contracted to do that, not ABC. It was Rudy Giuliani was contracted to do that, and Rudy Giuliani is the one who was there at the beginning of Tunnel to Towers and helped them acquire $3 million for one of their first big gifts, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So let's do this, but let's leave Well, let me do this right now.
Okay.
Make sure you donate $11 a month to T2T.org, Tunnel to Towers. The Twin Tower, Tunnel to Towers in the wake of the Twin Towers debacle, and raised money for all of the people that lost loved ones, the people who had firefighters and police officers. And I had my own group called the Twin Towers Fund, and we raised about 235 million, of which every penny went to the families of the firefighters and police officers, as audited by a Democratic AG who was dying to get anything on me, got nothing. Same thing is true as Tunnel to Towers, as clean as a whistle. It gets money to those who need homes because they've been catastrophically injured, to families where they lose their loved ones and therefore need money to help pay for mortgages. And finally, it is now working on that horrible problem of veteran homelessness. So now let's take the call, and we'll make that our final thought, sponsored by Tunnel to Towers.
So those of you who watch our evening show, America's Mayor Live, you will recognize this person. And those of you that listen on WABC Radio, you also will know him as a regular.
Oh, this is a two-time guy. He goes to the doubleheaders.
That's
okay. Or she does.
It's actually a big part of our evening show. The great Rob from Sea Caucus is on the line and wanted to.
Rob, we miss you.
Hello.
Rob, you are on the air. I just got to turn the volume up a little bit. Can you hear us, Rob?
I can hear you pretty well. Yes.
I can hear you too. So
All right.
go ahead quickly, Rob. We got about a minute.
All right, Mayor. Well, I think we're discussing what happened at WABC, I believe. Yes.
Yeah. Tell us your perspective.
Well, I mean, listen, there appears to be a chasm separating men like you and Donald Trump from the rest. The rest are subservient to their masters. And then there's Rudy Giuliani and Donald Trump, who apparently are not subservient to their communist masters. and I think that's what the people need to understand, is the difference. And that's a big difference, because apparently these guys are not the only ones. It seems to be a majority of the people in the news business are basically taking a knee to communism while their country is being stolen and ripped out from underneath them. And you got.
Well, how do you balance the following? And call in tonight that we can talk at length about this, because you're a very, very thoughtful guy. How do you balance? And I'm not unsympathetic with this. So you don't want to do this. You don't want to not cover news. Why would you not want to cover the news that I just covered about the 375,000 missing ballots and the 3,000 ballots that were double counted or triple counted? As a news person, as an honest American, you'd want to. But your boss is telling you you can't, and you have a family to support. I mean, should you cave in on that one issue? Or is that one issue so important? Because I don't want to minimize the issue. If we submit on 2020, they're gonna not only do it all over again, they're gonna do it all over again with gusto and enthusiasm.
Well, yeah, it was interesting what Steve Bannon said when you had him on your show. What was it, 2 days ago? Where he said, we were assuming, I guess, that, Trump is killing it in the polls, which of course he is. But Bannon said, he says they'll steal anything they want. And
I guess he'd never make it on ABC. He got plenty of listeners,
absolutely.
Though. Probably more than ABC.
Yeah.
But in any event, Rob, call back tonight and let's talk privately. We may need your help down here, my friend. We love you.
Yeah, I love you too.
All right.
Thanks, Rob.
See you guys soon.
Well,
all right. Yes,
we're going to wrap up on time.
Yes.
Like we did on radio, so that you can make your choice as to what you want to listen to. And if you do listen to ABC, just have a big thing in front of it. No news about 2020 election, even if it's determined that it was completely false. Won't cover it. We'll be back tomorrow. Don't forget, T2T.org, $11 a month. It's your obligation. God bless America.
We're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50% and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number